Season of Discovery Phase 2 has been out for less than a week as of right now, and I'm sure you've already seen hordes of complaints about basically overtuning or undertuning, buffing or nerfing classes all over the internet. Well, rest assured that some of those classes will actually be receiving buffs come next week. And even though we are only one day into the new lockout, we are already seeing massive changes in what classes are performing the best at the highest level. Even if you go to 99th percentile, you will still see that mages are now shooting up on top of hunters, and we are seeing warlocks at the top also now beating hunters, which will be a trend. It will actually keep going this way, where warlocks and mages keep going up and warriors get closer to hunters. But what about all of the classes that are down here? What about ranged hunter, enhanced shaman, balance and feral druids, and of course DPS paladins? Well, the first class this phase to get the nerf hammer was actually the balanced druids. They had a nerf to their Star Surge ability, but there was supposed to be a balance there where they got a buff to the Starfire ability. This actually did not pan out the way that it was supposed to. The actual buff you were supposed to get of 66% to your next Starfire was not actually being applied correctly. And this is something that the devs actually noticed, and they've said that there was a bug, and they are going to be adjusting that next week with the maintenance as well as some buffs to other things. And of course, this makes you wonder, does that mean other buffs to other classes? We didn't see anything about nerfs. And in fact, it does. Buffs coming to a few different classes, not just Druid. Now, we don't know exactly what those buffs are, and we don't know which of the classes will be receiving those buffs, but there's no mention here of nerfs. One of the things that we really would love to see is any of the other classes below the top 4 being brought up closer to their level. Now, do be aware, this is the very first day after the reset in the raid. Bosses still have over 4,500 armor on some of the bosses, and some of the bosses are just way better for certain specs, like mages being phenomenally good for the mechanical menagerie fight, because that fight just lends itself to be really good for mages. Also, warriors do well here because they can cleave, and they will continue to do even better as they get more and more gear. And if you look at the fights that do not have this ridiculous amount of armor, you are seeing melee at the top. We've got melee hunter, warrior, and rogue here at the top. And again, warriors and other melee classes should continue doing better and better each week. So just know that we're gonna see a lot of changes as the weeks go on, just even if there isn't any class tuning. But there are some classes that are still underperforming and not looking like they can actually get up to the level of some of the best classes. And these are classes like feral druids or retribution paladins. But there was a stealth paladin buff that went out today, which is actually pretty nice. Art of War has been buffed. It now reduces the mana cost of Holy Shock and Exorcism by 80%. I believe there was also a couple other stealth buffs that went out for paladins today. So this is definitely a class on Blizzard's radar. If your class is underperforming right now, just be cautious. Do know that Blizzard is aware of how classes are performing, either if the class is doing very well or if the class is doing poorly. They are paying attention to this and looking at it, but they have to try to balance things. So if they buff a class for the raid, will it make it absolutely broken in PvP? We don't know exactly, and this is kind of the whole gold and the beauty of Season of Discovery, figuring out which classes are going to do well. But it's not the end of the world if a class is better than yours or if your class is better than others.